Are you sitting with thousands of hours of B-roll content and telling yourself, I'll start posting tomorrow? Are you in your head worried about your friends and family, thinking you're cringe for choosing to be visible? Are you chasing trends instead of building influence? Welcome to the Visibility Standard, where the visionaries of today are changing the rules of their industries and letting their voice be heard. I'm your host, Jazzmyn, and we are setting the standard. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the pod. I'm so excited for my guest today. She is the author of Living in Tune, a podcast host, and she is all about supporting women in scaling their business, showing up, and living from a more intuitive place. Liz Roberta, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
What's one thing that you really focused on during your holiday reset or your time off?
So I got really into Yule this year and I read a book about, it was called Winter Magic. And it was all about how a lot of the Christmas traditions are actually based on the pagan festival of Yule. Things like having a Christmas tree and a Yule log and giving gifts and all these sparkly lights and candles and all of these things were actually taken from the pagan tradition of celebrating the winter solstice, which was Yule, and celebrating the change in the seasons. And then that was kind of hijacked by Christianity and made into the Christian holiday of Christmas. So I was reading a lot about that. And for the past year, I've been doing a lot of seasonal work and really trying to work with the seasons. I have historically had seasonal depression. And
Okay.
so I have realized that that was because I was resisting the seasons and I was trying to make it sunny every day. And I'm English, I live in England. It's definitely not sunny every day. And so I have been really working with the seasons, enjoying the gifts within each season, the different gifts within each season. And so yeah, that's been my focus for the past year, and then really focusing on Yule and the winter season over the festive period and finding the magic within that.
Mm. Yeah, because we are in the winter month, but of course we're in January, so a lot of people are in the new year, new me. I need,
Schedule between Sunday to Sunday.
nope, there isn't. Technology. Okay. Because we are in the new year, new me energy. A lot of people are focusing on their rebrand, the vision board, setting goals for the new year. But we're still in winter, which is a season of rest, of still shedding, of resetting, and allowing ourselves to move with the season. Why do you think people still feel that urgency when January 1st hits to rebrand or change their lives?
Well, even this, I kind of feel is a bit of a con because we've made up this calendar year just based on nothing. And I've
Mm.
always felt a huge shift in mid-Feb, and I never knew why. Then I used to teach on a master's degree, and there was loads of Chinese students, so they all celebrated the Chinese New Year. And I was like, "Oh, it's around the Chinese New Year," not realizing, "Oh, that's the Lunar New Year." And so we go into a new lunar cycle in mid-Feb, and I've always felt a shift around that sort of time, not knowing why. And then, of course, we go into spring, and the seasons change then. But yeah, I mean, the Gregorian calendar that starts on the 1st of January is just a made-up time. Now, saying that, I do love a calendar year as well. I think it's always fun to have a fresh start. And I think that urgency that we feel, even though it's midwinter, part of it is the fact that we've had a break over Christmas. And so we're kind of raring to go. Like, I know for me, I was kind of
Mhm.
done with eating and like seeing my family and not doing anything. Like, I think everyone's had that break. And so they're raring to go and get back into it again and maybe got some clarity from that time off. And then just the fact that we have at some point decided as humanity that it's a fresh start and a new beginning, I think people just embrace that and are ready to go again. And I feel like this season, January, February, March, I call it solo season. It's the winter, but it's when we focus on our personal development, personal projects, our work, our business, and there's fewer distractions. We're not doing all the socializing, the glitz and the glam. And so I think people are really in that mood to just focus and go all in. And it's like the antithesis of the holiday season where it's fun, joy, celebration, and then rest. And then we have kind of enough of that. And so we're ready to get raring to go again when January rolls around. So even though it's a made up construct, I do think there is this kind of natural swing back into momentum after Christmas as well.
Yeah, and it's a clean slate, right? January 1st, the new year, you have 365, 366 on a leap year to start over, to build on the goals that you set for yourself. It's the opportunity to start anew. And like you said, we come off of the holiday rested, we've spent time with loved ones, we have eaten to our heart's content, we've done all the things that bring us joy, and we are feeling more motivated to go after the things that we want to build a more aligned life for ourselves. But your work is all about supporting women and living more spiritually in tune with themselves.
Exactly. So my book is called Living in Tune, and that is what my work always comes back to, whether I'm doing, because I do spiritual programs, I also do business programs, but the goal is always for people to be aligned with their soul and living in their truth and their authenticity, not a fabrication of a life or a business that they think that they should have, or from copying someone else, because that just leads to unfulfillment. And it also makes it so much harder to create the results that you want, because often when you're out of alignment, you'll get roadblocks and obstacles and things won't work or things will crumble because they were never aligned for you in the first place. And so we can avoid a lot of that by starting off from that truthful place of alignment and integrity. The challenge with that is that it often means going your own way. So that was the alternative book title for the book when we were trying to come up with a title. And then I Googled it, and it's a Fleetwood Mac song, Go Your Own Way. And I was like, okay, we're not doing that. I'm not going to compete with Fleetwood Mac. And then there was nothing called Living in Tune. So we went with Living in Tune, but it's a very similar thing. Living in Tune means going your own way. It means doing your own thing, being radically honest. I ran a New Year's workshop yesterday in my membership. I also posted in my broadcast channel on Instagram. And the task that I was setting people was I was asking them certain questions about what they want to get from the year, what they want to create, but with radical, like brutal soul honesty, to just sit with themselves, to open their heart and go, truly, if I'm radically, brutally honest with myself, what does my soul actually want? Like, what do I actually want to launch and run and create and do this year, and facing the truth of what that is, which can be easier said than done. So, yeah.
Living in that radical truth, what is the biggest roadblock that you see a lot of people come up that doesn't allow them to go full send on that honesty?
So I work in a specific niche. I work with spiritual business owners. So my clients are astrologers, healers, psychics, mediums. I have some like nutritionists and therapists and things like that, but like kind of healers and spiritual people. And so the biggest one that I personally see in that world is definitely the witch wound. People being really afraid of claiming their unique gifts in the world that a lot of people don't believe in. And it may mean going against their family. I have tarot readers who are from I grew up in Christianity. My brother's a priest. Like, I get it. But yeah, people really struggle with that coming out, especially a lot of them have, I've got a client who's got a PhD in psychology, people who have been successful in corporate careers and have very kind of traditional careers. I used to be in investment banking at JP Morgan, so I get it. And people who've like built traditional success and then realize that path isn't for them, and then realize, oh my goodness, I have to come out as this witchy woman and I have these spirits talking to me or whatever their gift is. And it's strange, it's on the fringe. Their friends and their family might not agree with them. along with that witch wound as well, there's the wound of, can I charge for this kind of work? If I'm
Mm.
helping people and healing people, can I charge for this work? Or they do start charging, but it's nowhere near enough to make a full-time income from it. And so that witch wound is really, really prevalent in the people that I serve specifically, and that kind of persecution wound, the fear of being judged and not believed and being strange and being persecuted for that.
Mhm. It's so interesting you bring up the charging piece. I just wrote a post on LinkedIn about the concept of charging your worth and how a lot of therapists, healers, helpers, they feel anxious at putting a rate that embodies what they offer somebody else. And again, we are indoctrinated to believe that helping comes from the heart, from the soul, that we shouldn't want anything in return. Can you talk more about that challenge around charging a fee that allows someone to make a living? Like, why is it so uncomfortable for people to set their rate and to stick with them?
Yeah, so there's many different things that it could be. Money is something that I have always taught, and I have a whole program called the Money Work because I grew up without money. And the reason that I went into investment banking was because I was so desperate to make money. I did an
Mm-hmm.
economics degree, like I was, because we didn't have any. And my
Mm-hmm.
parents broke up because my dad had secretly gone bankrupt. And so, like, that was my focus. The lack of money made me pursue it intensely because of that scarce. And so I've always been fascinated by money. Then I was on my spiritual journey and really dove into healing that scarcity mindset and diving into the energy work and the mindset work and all of those pieces around money. And I've got to the point where I now love money. I love money. And there are many different reasons why that wound comes up in people. But I honestly think a big one for people is that they don't love money for some reason. And they're also afraid to start loving money or to claim that they love money. There's a lot of kind of ick around that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that must mean they're a bad person or they don't want to be greedy or they don't want to be that person that like loves money when in fact money is a neutral thing. It's literally just
Mm-hmm.
a thing. It doesn't make you better or worse. It doesn't make you like anything. It's just a thing. It's like saying I love books. It's like saying I love candles. Like saying I love money is exactly the same thing. And yet people can have some kind of visceral reaction to that. And so as a result, they're like, oh, I don't want to put my prices too high because I don't want to be someone who's, quote, greedy, or I don't want to like really love money and have that relationship with money. So that's a big one. And there's other pieces in there as well. Sometimes people don't feel like they're qualified. And then I dig into it. I'm like, how much more qualified can you be? Like, you've done all the courses, you've been doing this for 2, 3 years. Like, you know what? I'm like, what are you on about? Like, literally, what are you on about? So it can be that personal piece as well, where they don't feel like they can ask for that money in exchange. Sometimes it's when people are new to entrepreneurship and they're just not used to asking for money because it is very different. It's different from being paid by
Mm-hmm.
an employer. Asking people for money, you know, it's different. It's weird. There can be some guilt that comes up at the beginning. So sometimes it's when people are new in entrepreneurship. There's also the feminine money wound where women struggle a little bit more and have programming around what it means to be a woman and with money if their mum didn't work and their grandmother didn't work, and beliefs around what it means to be a mother and have a family. And then they, you know, can they make money as well? It's such a, yeah, a topic you can just dig into. I read a good book recently called The Psychology of Money, which I would recommend. But yeah, just working on that relationship with loving money. And if there's any resistance around that, then digging into why that is, because there's some kind of judgment there. And if we don't truly love money and truly want more of it in our lives, then we're always going to somehow sabotage it and block it if we think that's going to prove that we're somehow a nicer, better person because we're struggling for money.
Mm. Oh my gosh, you just spoke to so many things. Healing my relationship to money was actually one of my 2025 wounds that really came up for me. Like, charging what I desire, allowing myself to love the idea of money, love receiving money, feeling comfortable with receiving money and sitting with money. And the narratives that we create about what it means to want money, to want to attract money. Like, a lot of times when we say, oh, I want abundance, like what we mean is we want money. And we're worried about what that tells other people if we say that so plainly. But like you said, money is a neutral thing, and it is what allows us to continue doing the work that we're doing. Nobody wants a struggling therapist, nobody wants a struggling healer, a healer that cannot support themselves, cannot support you. And that was one of the mantras I had to remind myself as I was building out my offer suite and really just digging into the bones behind like what makes me uncomfortable with money.
What came up for you, can I ask? Was there
Yeah,
anything that you
I
identified?
growing up, I never like struggled with money, so I grew up pretty well off, and I think that created a desire to shrink a bit. And so, like, I don't have student loans. I went to private school all my life. Like, I grew up financially very well. And so, when I went to college, I think is when I really saw the disparity of money. And so, people who didn't grow up similarly to I did, I'm talking about ice skating, and a lot of people are like, that's not like a relatable experience. And so, as I have grown into working as a therapist and now being an entrepreneur, I think I've leaned in pretty heavy on the accessibility piece and wanting to offer service because I was so fortunate, not recognizing like I'm still allowed that quality of life. It doesn't say anything about me as a person that I grew up that way. Doesn't make me a bad person. It is simply the hand that I was so fortunately dealt. And so rewriting the narratives about money for me, receiving it, being able to take care of myself, being able to assess the quality of life that I really want. And I want a nice quality of life. I want to be able to retire. I want to be able to support others in making their dreams come true too. But I can't do that if I am not allowing myself to accept money and to treat money as a neutral thing.
I am so glad that you shared that because it's so fascinating how you can have two different backgrounds and still come up with money stories and still have money things to heal. And I feel like
Mhm.
that is such an important thing to show. It's like everyone has money stuff. We can make it about our background and we often say, oh, it's because of this, it's because of our childhood, whatever. And yet two people with opposite circumstances will still have things to heal. It really doesn't matter about
Mhm.
any of that. It's like, what do you want your relationship to be now? What is the narrative that you want to have now? So I love that you shared that. It's such a good example.
And it reminds me, I actually just made a video and posted it on TikTok about the relatability piece. And so I thank you for asking me that question because I was thinking about sharing that aspect of myself as I'm dismantling what it means to be relatable, what it looks like to be relatable, while also being true to myself. And I think aspirational content, I think it is something that is still so wanted and needed in the social media space. And like you said, a lot of times what we see on social media, a lot of our own wounds come up. A lot of the things that we are aspiring for feel like we haven't achieved in our lives. That comes up. And when we see somebody else has it, we flinch or we react or we comment and dictate that them having this level of success or this amount of money is a threat to them. What do you think about like this relatability piece within the social media space that a lot of people seem to want or desire?
See, I think that we shouldn't shrink ourselves to make ourselves smaller so that people will like us. And that's the risk with the word relatable. If it's like, I'm going to try and make myself small or make myself a certain way so that people will like me. I think it's about being the most truthful, accurate version of you. And then the people who are meant for you will relate to you. That's how I would see relatability is like being the biggest version of you. So you will be relatable to the people who are going to resonate with you and who you truly are. I don't think there's any way to be relatable for everyone without sacrificing yourself or making yourself smaller or holding back on your truth. For example, one thing that I have worked on is I love bigness. Like I love in one of my recent photo shoots, I had this like big pink fake fur coat and like a velvet dress. And I love that. And I have started to own that more and be like, yeah, I love the glam. I love having long, sparkly nails. And some people will hate that. And some people will say, well, that's not very spiritual or whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, but that's also just what I am. And it's like that will be relatable to the people who are glam and spiritual, who are, you know, who are the people who are meant for me. And so I think that is the most important thing with relatability. It's not trying to be relatable, it is being completely yourself and completely truthful. So you'll be relatable to the people that you're meant for, knowing that you will also be polarizing and pushing away the people who aren't a perfect match for your magic.
And that polarizing idea makes a lot of us uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable still, too. I think I have definitely been starting to poke at it more over the last like couple of months. I think 2025 again was this real unlearning of what it means to show up, what it means to have opinions, and recognizing it is going to be polarizing. What is something that people can do to start becoming more comfortable with showing up authentically, knowing that it could be polarizing?
So, one technique that I share, I actually shared this on TikTok and it started going a little bit viral, is to make things as though you're not going to share them and then to share them. So, like, what would you say if no one in the world was ever going to see it? Like, that is your truth. And I'll often write things from that place and I'll write it kind of pretending to myself, yeah, no one's going to see this. Like, what do I really want to say? Like, what do I really want to share? And then I will go and post it and I'll go and share it. And it's like when you can get in that zone of really writing it from your truth, not worrying about what people are going to think when they see it, that is when you get to the truth of the matter, what's actually coming from your heart and your soul. So I think getting into that practice of creating what you truly want to create, what you truly want to say, and maybe for a while you actually don't share it and you just find your own authentic voice, because I think sometimes we lose that because we're so scared of being judged or persecuted, or we need to make sales, and so it's like, oh well, I have to say this certain thing to sell. And just getting into that practice of creating from this like raw, personal, unhindered truth, just really sharing what you want to say. And that might be a strong opinion of some kind. It might be something that's like way out there and like woo, something like whatever it is. But like just getting used to finding your truth and finding your voice without even thinking about the fact that other people are going to see it. And then eventually getting to the point where you do just start sharing that.
Yeah. And it sounds like you've done some uncovering too for 2026 and how you imagine yourself to show up, how you imagine to show up for your business, for yourself online, and what you hope to embody for yourself this year.
Yeah, and it's been exactly what we've been talking about. It's this like soul alignment. And if you'd asked me last year, I'd be like, yeah, of course I'm soul aligned, but just added like raw, just the deepest, deepest, deepest level. And I have been doing more higher self work. So imagining my higher self, my higher soul self, and trying to get into true alignment with that. Like my higher self is in my body. What are they doing? What are they saying? That most radiant version of me that is just pure, that pure essence of me. What are they doing? What are they saying? And I'm just trying to dig deep into that and just really get to
Mm,
the raw truth even more than ever before. And as I mentioned earlier, like that brutal soul honesty, that absolute truth.
mm,
After this conversation, I'm actually going to sit down and strategize for 2026 because we're recording this right at the beginning of January. And I'm going to just dig into that and be like, what do I want to launch? Because right now I'm like, I've got this program that I could do multiple things and I don't actually know, but I want to sit with that raw truth and without
mm,
thinking about numbers or like any of those pieces, just be like, what do I want? Like, what do I want to
mhm,
launch? What would light me up to write emails about right now? Like, what would light me up to sell? What do I really want to do? Even if it doesn't make sense, I'm going to dig into that and then strategize from there.
mm. What has been the biggest support for you in doing this soul work?
It's been the evidence I've had previously of when I start things or create things or launch things from a head place or from a logic place, fear. I often say that the ego lives in the mind, the soul lives in the heart. And when I'm two in my head, I'm often coming from logic and fear. And sometimes when I do that, it doesn't work.
Hmm.
I've had evidence of that. And then sometimes when I just follow a whim, it does work. And I just go like with what I truly want to do, and then little miracles happen, or I get more signups than usual, or whatever it is. And so I'm just playing with the evidence I've had of those two things, leaning on that for some kind of trust, but also treating it as an experiment. I just treat everything as an experiment. I'm always on this like intuition experiment. I'm always on a spiritual experiment, a manifesting experiment, and just playing and seeing, okay, well, if I get that sign, what does it mean? Does that happen or does it not? Like, is that a real intuition or is that just something else? Like, and I'm always just on this kind of playing experimentation. And so that is also part of it as well. It's like if we go to the deepest level of our soul truth, what will happen? And just trying and playing and experimenting.
I love that you also mention digging into what you would enjoy talking about, what you would enjoy selling, what you would enjoy offering people. A lot of times we look at numbers or we look at, okay, this is the thing that's going to make us the most money or this is the most attractive offer. But if we're not energetically aligned to the offer, typically it plummets or we're going to do it and we're not going to enjoy it and we're going to wish we had offered the thing that really lights us up because that's the thing we're going to look at wanting to grow. We're going to look at wanting to better it every single time. We're going to look at wanting to offer it as many times as possible and the customer can recognize that we're just as invested as they are.
Definitely. Yeah. I've definitely had that where you slog through a launch and you're like, if I
Mhm.
have to talk about this program one more time, like I just can't. And it's so hard. And that's always been when I'm operating from a logic place. There was one year where I actually did a Gantt chart of the launches I was going to do for the whole year. And it made good sense. And I was like, right, I'll launch this and then this, and that will be alongside this for the whole year. And it worked for the first 3 months. And then I found myself being locked into launching certain things that didn't feel aligned because
Mhm.
I'd planned it so rigidly from the beginning of the year. And so then I was done with that chart halfway through the year because I was like, this feels awful. And then also, I was struggling through these launches. It showed in the results. The number of people who signed up was less. I wasn't fully in it, and it was just all wrong. And so after that, I was like, I need to just see how I go. And I also have people as well, they'll say, oh, when are you doing this next time? I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I genuinely have no idea because I will just see how I feel. I will see how I feel at that time because, yeah, especially if you're like an intuitive, sensitive business owner, then trying to force yourself to sell something, especially when we have to sell things so creatively online, we have to make posts and emails and all of that. And to do that from a forced place is so, so hard. And I learned that lesson to just trust myself and to have fun with it so that I enjoy creating all of that launch, the marketing materials, and then enjoy running it as well.
And being okay with pivoting, recognizing that something isn't working and being okay with changing your mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's so often that we feel like we have to see something through, that we have to, okay, I started this calendar, I started this plan, I need to see it through, I need to see this launch through. We get to decide this isn't working for me. I'm going to put this to the side, maybe continue tweaking it while I launch something else or completely scrap it. And I think that's some of the unlearning that comes from like corporate or what we learn in school and what we learn in these more traditional environments is we need to see something through. We need to see the job through. We have to hold on tightly to something and not allow change when we can pivot at any time. And a lot of times that's where the magic really happens when we allow the journey to naturally unfold versus holding on so tightly to something.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you see that in your work as a therapist all the time, people being unwilling to let go of things that aren't right, whether it's a
Mhm.
relationship. For me, I'll see it as things in their business. So it could be offers, it could be the niche that they're in, it could be the title that they're using, their messaging. and they're really reluctant to let go of what hasn't of what's worked before. Maybe it's stopped working or maybe it hasn't, but they've just outgrown it. And there's this reluctance to, yeah, pivot, as you say, and to change path when it's something new, it's not proven yet, there's no evidence for it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they don't see anyone else doing that. It's scary. And to be honest, even stepping into 2026, I had this. I have some rituals to close the previous year. So I read through my 2025 diary and gratitude diary, and I suck all of the lessons out of the year and just reflect on the previous year and kind of close it out as I move into a new year. And when I was looking out the window at the moon and I was stepping into the threshold into 2026, I had this moment of fear of kind of stepping into a whole new year and not actually knowing what it's going to be. Like, we're planning to move. I may be stepping into motherhood. I will be doing the same business, but like, maybe like, who knows? And you never know,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know who's going to die and when. Like, there's so many unknowns. And I was like, I had a great year in 2025. And so I was like, but what is 2026? It's an empty year ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exciting, but it is also the human part of you. It's scary to step into that unknown and that void space for sure.
Yeah. And even as I think about it from a visibility perspective, a lot of people feel like they have to show up a certain way online, that their messaging has to sound a certain way. I'm like, it needs to sound like you. That's the only thing that people are looking for. I think we can lean really heavily into the SEO of things and, okay, this is what's going to attract the most eyes, but your story is what's going to attract the most eyes. And if that doesn't feel congruent for you, how you're showing up doesn't feel congruent for you, scrap it and try something different. And if that's what excites you, you're going to keep doing it over and over again. You're going to want to keep showing up. You're going to want to continue posting and filming and writing when you are being true to yourself. As someone that creates pretty regularly, if I'm not enjoying it, I'm not posting it. Full stop. It just doesn't work. That marketing piece can get really draining. And so if you're not invested in what you're marketing and what you're putting out, you're not going to want to put it out there. That's why I struggle a lot with batch recording like short form content. I think it works for a lot of people. I think a lot of people also do it because that's what's being sold and that's what's going to give you the most efficiency. But you're drained by like the fourth video. Like, you're not yourself by the fourth video. And so giving myself that permission and space to film what comes up. I'm a generator, and so I love seeing what's happening out in the world and responding to it with a hermit side. And so sitting in that solitude and really thinking about what messaging I want to put out there. But that's like letting go of what everyone else says to do with their short form content and allowing myself to be authentic in that space.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I have gone through the same thing myself for sure.
I know you said you're still like figuring out 2026 planning. Is there a word that you've identified for this year?
Yeah, it's been really interesting to tune into this because I've always been so ambitious, and this is the first year I've not been,
Hmm.
which is strange. And so when I was tuning into a word, usually it'd be something about being really driven and like growth or expansion. And this year I was like, I just really kind of want to see where the year takes me. I've been on a big feminine awakening, and as I said, stepping into motherhood. And so my goal isn't this like massive growth year. And I ended up with the word freedom, which is my number one value. It has been for as long as I can remember. And so just deepening into that more and just creating even more freedom internally and externally. That's the word I have landed on that felt very resonant and true, not striving for something else, but just deepening into what is already important to me.
Does feeling disconnected from that ambitious side or work-driven side of you feel scary at all?
It feels strange. It doesn't feel scary only because I have so much trust.
Hmm.
And so I don't feel like I've lost something. I feel like I'm maturing. That's what it is. It's like the
Say more
younger
of that.
version. Oh, it feels like the younger version of me is like hustle. I'm 7. I started my business in May 2018. So I'm like 7, 8 years into my business. I'm happily married. I'm just in a really kind of stable, happy place where I've already built a lot. Whereas previous years it was like, let's go, let's
Mm-hmm.
build, let's get the book deal, let's get to 6 figures, let's travel the world. And I did those things. And so now it's more of a kind of settling and deepening rather than needing to get the next thing or create the
Mm-hmm.
next thing. It's like I already have an amazing community. I already have an amazing spiritual connection and spiritual life and all these things. And yeah, it doesn't feel scary. It just feels like surrendering,
Mm-hmm.
allowing, receiving, accepting, that kind of energy. It feels peaceful, more peaceful for sure.
Wow, and it sounds like, I mean, entering a new season of your life too,
Yeah.
and allowing that change and allowing yourself to let go of that idea of yourself, the ambitious, or not even let go of it, but allowing yourself to identify with different parts of it. Like, how do I maintain the aspects of my business that I really love? And what are some aspects that I can let go of to really allow this surrender, this calm, this joy of family planning and moving and settling into a different season of life?
It's so funny you said the word settling then because yesterday on this New Year's workshop I did, I was doing the exercise with everyone else. And when I tuned into 2026, the word settling came through for me, but not in the sense of settling as in accepting whatever. It was
Hmm.
settling down, which
Hmm.
I have never done. I turned 34 this year and we've moved around a lot. And it's like a family, we move every year and a half. And like we traveled the world for a year and a half, and then we'll live somewhere else for a year and a half, and then we'll move. And so we've always just been like moving around constantly. And this year, when we're moving again, to another town, we are planning to actually kind of settle there. And so it was like really, and that's something I've never not wanted to do yet. I've enjoyed my freedom and my travel and my moving. And so that was really coming in for this year, actually settling down and finally feeling ready to do that and
Mm.
not like I want to travel all the time and not like I want to move all the time and I'm in a place and then I'm done with it and that kind of energy. It was
Mhm.
like actually settling and being ready for that. It's
Mm.
yeah, this is what I mean. This real maturing seems to be happening for sure.
Yeah, you've allowed yourself the exploration to live the life, and now you're like, okay, well, what does it look like for me to take all of those parts with me into this new season of life?
Hmm.
And I'm so excited for you. I'm looking forward to seeing how this journey continues to evolve for you. This was such a illuminating conversation to have at the beginning of the year. Honestly, it's even allowing me to think of some things. I'm definitely going to journal after this, but thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure and joy.